Hi everyone. I'm Katia Paramonova, founder and CEO of Centrally, and we're building a graph-powered market intelligence platform. I've got two other MIT alumni on our team, Jyotishka Biswas, who's my co-founder and head of product, and Julia Agostinelli, who's our customer success manager. Corporate transformation is hard. As some of you probably know, making these changes to radically transform your company, move into a new market, or reinvent yourself from the inside out is complicated. You need to seek out new partners. You need to integrate new technologies in-house. For example, it's quite a big challenge for Shell to go through and cut away all of its emissions over the next couple of decades. And this is hard, not for lack of resources. These corporate teams have groups of analysts, all the high-end subscriptions to premium databases like PitchBook, CapIQ, hire consultants for millions of dollars a year. This is just fundamentally a very difficult problem for humans to parse, just given how dynamic and tangled it is. How do you manage this complex network? So essentially, we build the corporate's world from the inside out. We go through and first map that corporate's product and R&D teams, existing partners, the partners of their partners, to really show where they sit within the network. And then we slice away the rest of the market to really show, here's your competitors collection, here's how the companies within that set stack up against each other. Here's different options for partners of this specific type or an acquisition of this type. Now this goes into our core workflow platform. There's a few layers to this. First and foremost, of course, there's data. And this data is a little bit different from the traditional financial data that you can find in many of the tools that these corporates use. This comes from publicly available data about customer testimonials, government grant reports, press releases, things that really enrich the information around that company's technology and where they sit in the market beyond the traditional financial data. Now that feeds into a graph. Graph is fantastic both for storing network data, but also giving a really rich contextual view of a company and where it sits based on its relationships with partners, providers, joint venture partners. Now, that's great, but really we're solving for the complex workflow piece here. So within this platform, think of this as sort of the central Bloomberg terminal for business development teams and the product and R&D teams at these corporates. That day-to-day tool that helps automate some of the workflow pieces and tracking and managing and just structuring this complex world around them. Now, the golden key to all of this, what we're building long-term, is the algorithm piece. Can we actually predict what the best B2B partner for that given company at that given time is, using all that graph data that we've built out? Now, let me walk you through a case. So recently announced our work with GM, specifically their BrightDrop team. This is a team that came out of Stealth in January, building electric products for the commercial logistics space. As many of you probably appreciate, this is a very hot market with so many different industries colliding. So we worked with them to map out their existing partners and the partners of their partners to try to reveal some of those low-hanging connections and opportunities. Then built out various collections across industries, across different types of partnerships that they were looking to make and help them both discover new opportunities and shorten that time and give that really rich understanding of that company so they could prioritize more effectively as to where to spend their time. And again, this all sits within that core workflow product. And with that, we're looking for our new batch of customers. So specifically energy, aerospace, electronics, and other hard tech industries, and the business development, corp dev, and open innovation leaders there. And with that, thanks. Happy to answer questions.
Great, thank you, Katia. Could you tell us a little bit more how graph analytics and AI are used within Centrally Pro?
Yeah, so the graph analytics, this is a pretty underutilized space, especially for the B2B and industry landscapes. But you can look at the structure of relationships and then using weighted-based scoring, see the power of a given company within that network relative to other companies. Other interesting things you can do is, say, finding companies that are similar to the customers of your competitors. That's some of the things when you have 50 competitors that can be very overwhelming to do, but graphs are the more exciting way to solve that.
What about corporations? So a large corporation will have multiple teams distributed. How does your tool work for that scenario?
Yeah. Now, these corporates have different product and R&D teams. So say GE Healthcare, GE Renewables, there's different worlds. And then there's also other teams that service those teams. So say corp dev or ventures. So not only building those roles for the product and R&D teams, and there's obviously cross-shared data between those that they can benefit from, but also serving those other teams that are much more specialized in investments or acquisitions and helping them better serve those core product and R&D teams as well.